The global television broadcasting industry is completely dominated by incredibly powerful corporate titans who absolutely demand total control over every single artist they discover. For decades, the legendary entertainment executive Simon Cowell has brilliantly built a massive, multi-billion-dollar musical empire by strictly locking viral talent show contestants into deeply restrictive, highly profitable long-term recording contracts. However, an incredibly rare and massively disruptive anomaly has recently occurred. An unbelievably gifted vocalist named Matty Juniosa has seemingly achieved the absolute impossible. He successfully generated millions of highly profitable global views for the network and then aggressively walked completely away from their corporate grasp. Today, we are going completely behind the highly guarded industry curtain to investigate the profound psychological blow to the judging panel, the terrifying financial miscalculations, and the absolute ultimate truth regarding why Simon Cowell deeply regrets permanently losing his absolute greatest viral discovery: the foundation of the control empire. To completely understand the profound magnitude of this massive corporate loss, we absolutely must first analyze the fundamental business architecture of the television talent show empire. The entire broadcasting machine is strictly designed to successfully discover raw, highly malleable talent and instantly lock them into incredibly restrictive management contracts owned entirely by the network affiliates. Simon Cowell fundamentally built his legendary status by maintaining absolute creative and financial control over his artists. When Matty boldly chose to completely reject this traditional pathway and pursue absolute artistic independence, he directly threatened the very foundation of this highly lucrative corporate business model, proving that incredibly talented artists absolutely no longer desperately need the television machine to survive. The unprecedented vocal anomaly. Industry executives completely understand that genuinely world-class vocal architecture cannot be artificially manufactured in a recording studio. During his highly emotional television appearances, Matty completely proved that he possesses an unbelievably rare, generational vocal instrument capable of executing profoundly complex emotional manipulation. Judges like Simon Cowell actively spend completely entire decades desperately searching for this exact specific level of raw, undeniable talent. Losing an artist with this profound capability is not merely a temporary setback. It is a massive, incredibly painful strategic disaster because vocal anomalies of this magnificent caliber frequently only appear once in a completely entire generation: the massive viral financial hemorrhage. From a strictly corporate perspective, the absolute most painful aspect of this situation is the terrifying realization of lost long-term revenue. Matty successfully generated tens of millions of highly engaged organic views, incredibly viral social media interactions, and massive international press coverage. Traditionally, the television network would instantly capitalize on this massive momentum by launching highly profitable global tours and completely controlling his digital streaming revenue. By successfully escaping their corporate grasp, Matty effectively took millions of dollars in potential future earnings completely off the executive table, leaving the massive broadcasting corporation with absolutely nothing but temporary television ratings. The terrifying threat of competitors. The deeply competitive global music industry operates exactly like a highly aggressive war zone. One of the absolute greatest fears currently keeping massive television executives awake at night is the incredibly real possibility that Matty will quietly sign a massive, highly lucrative distribution deal with a major rival independent record label. If he successfully releases a massively profitable, critically acclaimed original album completely outside of the traditional television network ecosystem, it will completely humiliate the original broadcasting executives. It heavily publicly demonstrates that they were entirely incapable of successfully securing the absolute best talent that walked directly across their very own television stage. The desperate need for genuine authenticity. The modern international music consumer has become incredibly sophisticated and completely exhausted by highly manufactured, easily predictable television pop stars. The massive global streaming charts are currently completely dominated by profoundly authentic, deeply vulnerable independent artists. Matty Juniosa perfectly represents this exact modern archetype. By permanently losing him, Simon Cowell and his corporate team completely lost their absolute best opportunity to successfully inject genuine, highly respected credibility into their frequently criticized commercial catalog. They desperately needed his profound authenticity to successfully prove to massive music critics that their television platform can still produce truly serious musical artists. The psychological blow to the judging panel. Beyond the massive financial calculations, we absolutely must deeply analyze the profound psychological impact this situation has heavily inflicted upon the elite judging panel. Powerful entertainment executives are incredibly accustomed to absolute obedience and deeply profound gratitude from the terrified young artists they evaluate.
Having a heavily praised, completely viral contestant gracefully but firmly reject their massive corporate machinery is an incredibly rare, deeply shocking blow to their massive industry egos. It serves as a highly uncomfortable, deeply terrifying reminder that their traditional television authority is rapidly crumbling in the completely decentralized modern digital era. The complete loss of global touring dominance. The absolute true wealth in the modern global music industry is no longer generated strictly through digital streaming. It is completely heavily concentrated in massive international live touring. Matty possesses the exact specific type of highly theatrical, incredibly powerful vocal presence that completely sells out massive international arenas. The television network executives originally heavily anticipated utilizing his massive viral momentum to successfully launch incredibly profitable global tours across Europe and Asia. By walking completely away, Matty instantly destroyed this highly lucrative corporate master plan, choosing strictly to maintain absolute control over his own highly anticipated future live performances. The changing broadcasting landscape. The entire situation completely highlights a massive, deeply terrifying crisis currently facing traditional television broadcasting.
Presenter TV host. Highly talented emerging artists are completely realizing that they absolutely do not need to permanently surrender their incredibly valuable intellectual property to massive television networks just to acquire a global audience. By successfully utilizing massive digital platforms like TikTok and YouTube independently, artists like Matty can completely bypass the highly restrictive traditional gatekeepers. His successful rebellion heavily proves to millions of aspiring global musicians that traditional television contracts are completely outdated and frequently incredibly toxic to long-term artistic development. The silence that amplifies the regret. The incredibly strategic, completely absolute silence that Matty has successfully maintained since his highly publicized television departure has massively amplified the deep corporate regret. If he had instantly failed in the independent sector, the executives could have easily publicly mocked his terrible decision. However, by remaining completely hidden, heavily developing his brand new, highly original musical sound, he has successfully cultivated an incredibly powerful aura of premium mystery. This deeply terrifying silence leaves the massive industry executives completely paralyzed with profound anxiety, completely terrified of the exact moment he finally decides to heavily unleash his brand new artistic weapons onto the massive global charts. The ultimate legacy of the one who got away.
Ultimately, this massive, highly complex industry situation will permanently echo throughout the completely exclusive upper echelons of the entertainment business for decades to come. As Matty successfully continues to carefully build his highly anticipated independent musical empire, his legendary status as the absolute ultimate talent who brilliantly escaped the massive corporate machine will only continuously grow. For legendary executives like Simon Cowell, Matty Juniosa will permanently represent the absolute most painful, deeply terrifying category of artist in the entire global music industry. The magnificent, completely undeniable superstar who bravely looked directly at the massive corporate empire and boldly decided to completely walk away.